fight. We're going to have to lead, everyone is going to have to lead with kindness, humility, empathy, and not just talk, but action. Action today, action tomorrow. Action until we win. And we will win if we do this together. It's who we are. It's who we always have been. Now let's show them.
As a reminder, today's event has been set up to adhere to social distancing guidelines as outlined by health experts in the state of Ohio. Thank you for being here.
Please welcome Courtney Mosley.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Courtney Mosley, and I am a local attorney and secretary for the Northeast Ohio Young Black Democrats. Cleveland is a city I am proud to call home. I was born here, raised here, and despite yesterday's game, I am still a loyal Cleveland Browns fan. I've seen firsthand the impact this president's inaction and indifference that has had on my community. People are hurting, businesses are shuttered, hard people have lost their jobs, and too many families have lost a loved one. And the truth is, it didn't have to be this bad. It doesn't have to be this bad. And we can make it better by voting for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. With so much on the ballot, the stakes in this election couldn't be any higher. And the choice, well, it couldn't be any clearer. Joe Biden understands the issues we face and will provide the strong leadership and unity we need to move our country forward. I'm voting for Joe and Kamala because I know they've got my back. They see me and they'll fight for me. They have a plan to get this virus under control, to get our economy back on track, and to build Ohio better than it was before. For health care, for jobs, for justice, for education, and for a clearer, brighter future, the choice is clear. We need Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's leadership in the White House. Just a few months ago, the pundits and pollsters said we didn't have a shot in Ohio. Now, a day before the election, we're neck and neck in what has become this country's closest race. Ohio, we're so close, but there's more work left to do. We can't let up just yet. We need to work for it. We need to turn up and turn out like our lives and our futures depend on it, because it does. If you have a ballot, turn it in. If you haven't voted, make a plan. If you haven't reached out to friends and family, do it now. We don't want to wake up on November 4th wondering if we did enough. It is up to us to bring this home for Joe and for Kamala. If we win Ohio, we deny Trump another 4 years, period. It's that simple. We can't afford to let this opportunity pass us by. We need to do everything we can to turn every voter and elect Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Democrats down the ballot. I'm fired up, I'm ready to go, and I hope you are too. And with that, it gives me great honor to introduce the next president of the United States, Joe Biden.
Whoa! Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And you guys can put together something real quick. I tell you, thank you very, very much. And Courtney, thank you for that introduction. And I want to thank Representative Marcia Fudge. We've been hanging out in the back here in the tent, along with Marcy Captor's out there, and I guess Joyce is out here, Joyce Petey, I can't see you. Oh, there you are, okay, I see you guys. And by the way, I want you all to meet, I got 4 of my grandchildren with me today. All my grandkids, stand up, stand up. They're my good luck charms. They're my heart. And Marcy and Joyce and Tim Ryan. Tim, are you over there too? Hey, Tim. Tim, you've been so great the whole campaign. Thank you very, very, very much. And, you know, he's as tough as nails. They're all incredible leaders, and we need to send them back to Congress, every single one of them. Folks, I want to thank my buddy Sherrod Brown. No one fights harder for the dignity of working people than Sherrod does. Sherrod won re-election in 2018 about the same margin that Trump did. And so when Sheriff tells me to come to Ohio the day before, I come to Ohio. That's what I do. Because he and I have something in common. We married way up. He married a Pulitzer Prize winner. I married a professor. And I tell you what, Connie, you've been wonderful. Connie actually reviewed my wife's book, I found out. At any rate, I want to thank you for being here. Folks, Ohio, one more day. One more day. Tomorrow we have an opportunity to put an end to a presidency that's divided this nation. Tomorrow, we can put an end to a president that has failed to protect this nation. And tomorrow, we can put an end to a president that has fanned the flames of hate all across this country. Millions of Americans have already voted. Almost 100 million have voted so far. 100 million voted already. And more are going to vote today. And my message is simple. The power to change the country is in your hands. I don't care how much Donald Trump tries. There's nothing he's going to do to stop the people in this nation from voting. Folks, he hadn't figured it out. Presidents don't determine who gets to vote. Voters determine who's going to be the president. And when America votes, America will be heard. When America's heard, I believe the message is going to be loud and clear. It's time for Donald Trump to pack his bags and go home. We're done. We're done with the chaos. We're done with the tweets, the anger, the hate, the failure, the irresponsibility. We've got a whole lot of work to do. If I'm elected your president, I'm going to act, and I'm going to act on day one. Folks, we're going to act to get this COVID under control. On day one of my presidency, we're going to put into action a plan that I've been talking about for months and he's been paying no attention to. Masking, social distancing, testing, tracing. A plan for a fair and full and free distribution of therapeutics and vaccines when we get one. Imagine where we'd be had this president from the beginning just wore a mask instead of mocked wearing a mask. I can tell you this. we wouldn't have 9 million confirmed COVID cases in this nation. We wouldn't have over 230,000 deaths. We wouldn't be seeing those new record numbers of cases we're seeing every single day right now. Nearly 100,000 cases in one day, just 2 days ago. 100,000 new cases. We wouldn't be facing another 200,000 projected deaths in the next few months. This president knew last January the virus was deadly, but he hid it from the American people. He knew it was worse than the flu. He lied to the American people. He knew it wasn't going to disappear, but he kept telling us a miracle was coming. And just Friday, he had the gall. Think of this now. The President of the United States of America, who was responsible for so many deaths, he had the gall to suggest that American doctors, the people who have been on the front lines of this crisis for 9 months, along with nurses and so many others, many of whom have died, to suggest that doctors are falsely inflating deaths due to COVID because they want to make more money. I'm serious, man. This guy's a disgrace. The people of this nation have suffered. They've sacrificed for 9 months, none more than those doctors and nurses, and those healthcare workers. And this president is questioning their character, their integrity, their commitment to their fellow Americans. As I said, it's a disgrace. And last night, Trump said he was going to fire Dr. Fauci. Isn't that wonderful? I got a better idea. Elect me and I'm going to hire Dr. Fauci. And we're going to fire Donald Trump. Donald Trump waved the white flag of surrender to this virus. He did that. His own chief of staff said last week, we're giving up on the virus. We're not going to do anything about it. I'm never going to raise the white flag of surrender. We're going to beat this virus. We're going to get it under control, I promise you. Look, the first step to beating the virus is beating Donald Trump. Donald Trump keeps telling us what a great jobs president he is. I was just with Barack in Detroit and Flint. It was great to be with a president of some character, a president respected around the world, a president our kids could and did look up to. But did you know that after President Obama and I bet on American workers and helped rescue the auto industry, nearly 500,000 jobs created here in Ohio? Meanwhile, 330,000 of those have been lost since Trump's become president. You know, Donald Trump is going to be the first president in 90 years, that's a lot of presidents, in 90 years, who's going to finish his 4 years in office with fewer jobs than when he got elected to office. It's no surprise. Remember what the lies he told all the workers. He told the families of the GM plant in Lordstown. He said, quote, don't move, don't sell your house. But then the plant shut down. And after the first debate in Cleveland, I met an Ohio woman named Tiffany, whose husband lost her job at the plant. And he had to take a job 8 hours away in another state. He drives home weekends, 16 hours round trip to be home with his kids. So much for don't worry. What about his threat and his grudge against Goodyear? What about his broken promise to protect pensions for workers, especially multi-employer pensions? And what about he stopped the overtime for millions of American workers, over $1.2 billion for American workers, that President and I, with the help of your delegation, put in place. But let's not forget how Donald Trump is weak and chaotic with China on trade. Farm bankruptcies are way up. Exports are way down. Agricultural exports to China during the Trump years have been 40% lower than they were during we were in our second term. And he even says, because of his bailouts of the farmers, that's your tax dollars, by the way, his bailout of the farmers, quote, our farmers are doing better now than when they actually had a farm. Can you believe that? Our farmers are doing better now than when they actually had a farm because they were able to be bailed out, although they may not have a farm anymore. Who does this guy think he is? My policy is going to hold China accountable. I'll end the Trump tax loopholes that incentivize companies to ship jobs overseas. I'll add a 10% surtax on companies who do ship jobs overseas. But for companies who come back and invest in American manufacturing and bring jobs back home, I'll offer a 10% tax credit. And folks, it's no violation of any trade agreement, but no government contracts. And the president has about $600 billion in contracts from the military on down. No government contract will be given to a company that isn't have all the products, including the supply line, all products made in America, every product. Look, and our future will be made right here in Ohio. Folks, we're in a position that we can do so much more, so much more. Folks, Donald Trump forgot and betrayed Ohio workers. Quite frankly, I grew up with around guys like Donald Trump. I grew up in neighborhoods like probably many of you did, working class neighborhoods where most people didn't have a college education. But we had guys like Trump we used to play against when we played ball in Scranton and Claymont. And they because they had more money than we did, they kind of looked down their nose on us. I got to admit to you, I got a bit of a chip on my shoulder when I read once we won the nomination and things began to look a little better. I read from serious press people, they're decent, honorable people, that if I get elected, I'll be the first president who didn't have an Ivy League degree in a long time. Well, let me tell you something. Somehow that's kind of mean I didn't belong because I went to a state university. But let me tell you what, it's about time a guy from a state university graduated into the White House, because if I'm there, you're going to be there too. Look, Trump sees the world from Park Avenue, looking down on Wall Street. I see it from Scranton and Claymont, where I grew up. I see it from here in Cleveland. Wall Street didn't build America. The middle class built America. And guess what? Unions built the middle class. That's a fact. I think it's long past time we start rewarding work, not wealth in this country. Under my plan, if you make less than $400,000, you won't pay a single penny more in taxes. You have my word on it. But I tell you what, the wealthiest among us, big corporations, 91 of which don't pay any tax, that paid zero federal income tax, they're going to start paying their fair share. Why? This is literature. Why should a firefighter, an educator, a cop, why should a welder, why should a steel worker pay at a higher tax rate than the super wealthy? It's not right. Why should you pay more taxes than Donald Trump, for God's sake? Look, I released 22 years of my tax returns. You can look them up online. Donald Trump didn't release any. I wonder what the hell he's hiding. I wonder why he won't let anybody know what his tax returns are. Who's he owe the money to? This is the guy, by the way, we found out recently, has a secret bank account in China. Paid 50 times more tax in Beijing than he did in the United States. And overall, the one income tax the New York Times got, he paid $750 in federal taxes. How about you? And when he was asked how he could pay so little, remember what he said? He said, because I'm smart. I know how to game the system. Isn't that the kind of guy you want as president? That can game the system, be a billionaire and pay $750 in taxes while you all break your necks break your necks, and pay a fair share. We're going to act to protect health care, by the way. Trump and Republicans just jammed through a new Supreme Court nomination for one basic reason. Within a week after the election, they're going to be before the Supreme Court, and this new nominee is going to be on the court. And it's all about destroying the Affordable Care Act, getting rid of it completely. They've been trying to do it now for 9 years. If they get their way, 100 million Americans will lose protections for pre-existing conditions, including nearly 5 million folks here in Ohio. Look, Donald Trump doesn't understand health care. He thinks it's a privilege. I think health care is a right. And by the way, because of the way he ruined the economy, even before the pandemic, 10 million Americans have already lost their employer-based health care because the employer's gone out of business. Now he wants to go after the 22 million who have health care only because of the Affordable Care Act. I'll not only restore the Affordable Care Act, I'll build on it. You can keep your private insurance, or you can choose a Medicare-like public option in the new plan. I'm going to increase subsidies and lower premiums and deductibles, out-of-pocket expenses, and surprise billings. We're going to reduce drug costs by 60% by allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices for all of us. Folks, it's going to cost more money, but guess how I'm going to pay for it? Trump's going to start paying some taxes. We're going to make sure we keep protections for people with pre-existing conditions. Meanwhile, the Social Security actuary, the person who runs the Social Security Department, says if Donald Trump's plan that he announced, if he's reelected, he's going to put in place, if in fact it's put in place, it would bankrupt Social Security by 2023. This guy really cares a lot about us, doesn't he? He really understands. We've been busting our neck, my parents before me and everyone else, paying into Social Security. So go home and tell your parents or grandparents what a great deal they're going to get if Trump gets reelected. But folks, the fact is I'm going to protect your Social Security. I guarantee it, because I got people behind me who are going to make sure it's protected. We're going to protect Social Security, and we're going to have a situation where, guess what? We have a majority in the United States Senate. But folks, look, the thing that's bothered me most, maybe emotionally bothered me the most, but substantively as well, that this president has done. There's been nothing worse than the way he has spoken about those who have served in uniform. He called y'all losers and suckers. My son, Beau, was the Attorney General of the state of Delaware. My son, Beau, volunteered. He had to give up the seat of Attorney General and volunteer to go to Iraq for a year. He won the Bronze Star, the Conspicuous Service Medal, and he saw other people die in Iraq. He was not a loser. He was not a sucker. He was a patriot. Just like all your sons and daughters, parents and grandparents who served. Folks, 6 generals who worked in the White House with the President of the United States and admirals worked in his administration have since left, and they've said he is unfit to be commander-in-chief. Best of my knowledge, Sherrod, that's never happened before for any president of the United States. And that's why Special Operations Commander Stanley McChrystal, as well as the Commander of Special Ops and the Navy SEALs who took out bin Laden, along Bill McRaven, Admiral McRaven, along with 22 other 4-stars, they've endorsed me, saying they'd be proud to have me as their Commander-in-Chief. This president likes to portray himself as a tough guy, the macho man. When's the last time you saw a president of the United States literally being laughed at by the world leaders when he spoke at the United Nations. I don't ever recall that ever happening. And can you believe when the President of the United States, who acts like Vladimir Putin's puppy, Putin put bounties on the heads of American soldiers in Afghanistan. Trump spoke to him 6 times, and he was too frightened to challenge him. Why? Donald Trump's not strong, he's weak. This is a president who not only doesn't understand sacrifice, he doesn't understand courage, physical courage, it takes for so many of you to put on that uniform. We must support our military. And let's make this vote for them as well. God love them. Look, we have to vote to meet the challenge of the climate crisis as well. We can act to meet that climate crisis. Trump calls climate crisis a hoax. I see it as a great opportunity to improve our health as well as create millions of good-paying jobs. I see Americans working to build and install 500,000 charging stations all across this country. American consumers switching to clean electric vehicles. We can own the electrical vehicle market, creating millions of jobs here in Cleveland and in Ohio and in Detroit. Folks, I see the federal government harnessing the purchasing power by buying these electric vehicles, made in America, made in Ohio, made in Detroit, made in America. It's going to mean 1 million, according to the experts, 1 million new good-paying auto jobs in the automobile industry alone. Folks, if we don't act, China's going to own the market. China's going to own it all. And we will act, in addition to deliver racial justice in America. Folks, protesting is not burning and looting. Violence must never be tolerated, and it won't. But these protests are a cry for justice. The names of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Jacob Blake will soon not be forgotten. You know, I met with all these families. When I met with Floyd's little girl, I think she was 6 years old, I knelt down to say her, to be at eye level with her. She looked at me and she said, I swear to God, she said, Mr. Vice President, my daddy is going to change in the world. My daddy's going to change the world. Folks, I'm not going to forget, you're not going to forget, and this country's not going to forget. This is going to inspire a new wave of justice in America. But guess what? Because we have the X generation, the Z generation, that in fact is the most open, least prejudiced, best educated generation in American history. They're already moving. They're already insisting on justice. They know who we are. A new wave of justice in America, but also true justice isn't just about how they deal with police. It's about jobs. It's about building wealth. It's about families. It's about education. It's about opportunity. It's about being able to make a decent living. Nobody should have to work 2 jobs to stay out of poverty. That's why, honk if you agree with me that a $15 minimum wage is necessary nationwide. Honk. Honk if you think assistance for a down payment for a real shot at home ownership should be coming forward with me with $15,000 for first-time homeowners. To start a small business, send a child to college debt-free. Folks, Ohio, in 2008 and 2012, you placed your trust in me and Barack. In 2020, I'm asking you to trust me again. I'm proud of the coalition this campaign has built to welcome Democrats, Republicans, and Independents. I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'll govern as an American president. There will be no red states and blue states, just the United States. And I promise you, I'll work as hard for those who don't support me as those who do. That's the job of a president, to care about everybody. Everybody. That's the duty of a president. And look, you two have a duty to vote. Folks, make a plan. Go to iwillvote.com/OH. Folks, the amazing thing about this moment in our history, on the one hand, we're facing the biggest threat of who we are, what we believe, and what we've seen, what we've been in our lifetimes. On the other hand, our future has never been more promising. I've said it many times. The character of America is literally on the ballot. The character of our country. But I'm more optimistic about America's future today than when I was elected to the United States Senate as a 29-year-old kid. Let me tell you why. We are better positioned than any nation in the world to lead the 21st century. Our workers are 3 times as productive as other workers. We have the biggest economy in the world. We have the strongest military in the history of the world. We have the most innovative entrepreneurs in the world. And we are virtually energy independent. We have more great research universities in America than all the rest of the world combined, out of which all these new inventions have occurred. No other nation can match us. We lead by the example of our power, not just by the power, but by the power of our example. The only thing that can tear America apart is America itself. And that's exactly what Donald Trump has tried to do from the beginning of his campaign. Divide America. The only way he can win, separate us. Pit Americans against one another based on race, gender, ethnicity, national origin. It's wrong. It's not who we are, but it's his only prospect. Everybody knows who Donald Trump is. Let's keep showing them who we are. We choose hope over fear. We choose unity over division. We choose science over fiction. And yes, we choose truth over lies. Folks, it's time to stand up. It's time to take back our democracy. We can do this. We're so much better than this. We can be our best. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the United States of America. There's not a damn thing we can't do. Nothing. So let's get up and do it. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you.